learning outcomes. After studying this module, you shall be able to know what does personality refer to, learn the various personality traits present in people, identify major determinants of personality of an individual, evaluate the relationship of personality dimensions and job performance, analyze how the behavior can be studied to analyze organizational behavior. Now, we will discuss upon what is actually personality. Personality is a dynamic and organized set of individualities possessed by a person that distinctively influences his or her cognitions, emotions, motivations, and behavior in various situations. Personality also refers to the pattern of thoughts, feelings, social adjustments, and behaviors consistently exhibited over time that strongly influences one's expectations, self-perceptions, principles, and attitudes. It also forecasts human reactions to other people, problem, and stress. There is no compromise on the definition of personality. It is a multidimensional concept. Now, there are some famous definitions given by various authors. According to Luthens, personality means how people affect others and how they understand and view themselves. Next definition was given by Robin and Sanghi, who says personality is sum total of ways in which an individual responds to and interact with others. After discussing about the definitions of personality, we will discuss upon what are the determinants of personality. An adult's personality is affected by following determinants. The first and most important being is heredity. Now, what is heredity? Heredity refers to all factors like physique, facial structure, muscle composition, gender, energy, reflexes, etc. In an individual, these factors are considerably or absolutely influenced by his or her parents, that is, their biological and physical features. An individual's character is affected by heredity, that is, the molecular structure of genes in his or her chromosomes. It gives him or her inborn traits and abilities. The next determinant is environment. Environment refers to sum total of factors like the culture one is raised in, the norms and values in the family, friends, relations, other social groups, and other experiences. Norms and values in family are passed on from generation to generation. Personality is affected strongly by the environmental factors. The next determinant which affect personality is situation. An individual character is affected by situation also. An individual personality changes in different situations. Different situations may affect the different aspects of one's personality. Some situations are more pertinent in influencing the personality than others. Personality of an adult is made up of genetics and environment and is influenced by different situations. Now, once we have understood the determinants of the personality, we shall understand the different personality traits of an individual. Although there have been number of studies and researches to find out the different personality trait, and consequently there are large number of traits on the list which cannot be used practically by decision makers in organization. But we will discuss upon the two models given by Myers-Briggs type indicator and the Big 5 model which can be highlighted. The first model is the Myers-Briggs type indicator. In short, I will say to it MBIT. Now, what is MBIT? It is a 100-question personality test that attempts to inquire how people usually feel and act in a precise way. The instrument classifies the respondents according to 4 types of characteristics. The first being extraversion versus introversion. Now what is extraversion? Now we will talk as extroverts. Extroverts are action oriented, pursue breadth of knowledge and influence, and prefer interaction with others, are sociable. On the other hand, introverts are thought oriented, pursue depth of knowledge and influence. They prefer spending time alone and they are shy individuals. The next characteristic is sensing versus intuitive. Now how new information is unstated and understood. Sensing types are more probably to trust information that it is in the present, concrete, and look for details and facts. Intuitive types be likely to trust information that is further abstract or theoretical. It can be associated with other information and are more interested in knowing the future possibilities. The other characteristics is thinking versus feeling. Thinking types tend to decide things by what seems reasonable, logical, causal, consistent, and matching a given set of rules. On the other hand, feeling types tend to decide on the basis of personal values and emotions. They are disturbed with the truth and view it as more important than being tactful. The next characteristics is judging versus perceiving. The judging types favor their world to be structured and ordered. They want control. On the other hand, perceiving types, also known as the observing types, are flexible and soft. The Myers-Briggs type indicator, in short it is referred to as MBTI. The MBTI sorts some of the psychological differences into 4 opposite pairs or dichotomies, with a resulting 16 possible personality types. Not any of these types are better or worse. The 16 types are typically mentioned to by a contraction of 4 letters. The primary letters of their 4 type preferences, except in the case of perception, which uses the abbreviation N to distinguish it from introversion. For instance, ESTJ, it stands for E, extraversion, S, sensing, T, thinking, J, judging. Another INFP, I stands for introversion, N stands for intuition, F stands for feeling, and the last P stands for perceiving. ESTJRs, organizers, realistic, logical, analytical, and decisive. On the other hand, INTJs are visionaries. They have original thought process. They drive for their own ideas and purposes. MBIT is widely used by many organizations like Apple Computers, General Electric, Tata Motors, and Indian Defence Services. Now the following diagram will show you 16 possible personality types as per MBTI. The next model in discussion is the Big 5 model. The Big 5 are broad categories of personality traits. While there is a significant body of literature supporting the 5-factor model of personality, researchers don't always agree on the exact labels for each dimension. However, these 5 categories are usually described as follows. The first category means extroversion. This trait includes characteristics such as credibility, sociability, talkativeness, assertiveness, and high amount of emotional expressiveness. The second characteristic is agreeableness. This personality dimension includes attributes such as trust, altruism, kindness, affection, and other pro-social behaviors. Now the subset, the factors which include in agreeableness are conscientiousness. What is conscientiousness? Common features of this dimension includes high levels of thoughtfulness with good impulse control and goal-directed behavior. Those high in conscientiousness tend to be organized and mindful of details. Second is neuroticism. What is meant by neuroticism? Individuals high in this trait tend to experience emotional instability, anxiety, moodiness, irritability and sadness. The third is openness. This trait features characteristics such as imagination and insight, and those high in this trait tend to have a broad range of interest. It is important to note that each of the 5 personality factors represent a range between two extremes. Now, for example, extroversion represents a continuum between extreme extroversion and extreme introversion. In the real world, most people lie somewhere between the two polar ends of each dimension. The Big Five model was defined by several independent set of researchers. The research shows that the Big Five personality dimensions have pertinent relationships with job performance, depending on performance criteria and nature of job. Personality dimensions play important role in organization behavior. McRae and his colleagues have found that the Big Five traits are also remarkably universal. One study that looked at people from more than 50 different cultures found that the 5 dimensions could be accurately used to describe personality. Based on this research, many psychologists now believe that the 5 personality dimensions are not only universal but they also have biological origins. Psychologist David Buss has proposed that an evolutionary explanation for these 5 core personality traits, suggesting that these personality traits represent the most important qualities that shape our social landscape. So, we should always remember that behavior involves an interaction between a person's underlying personality and situational variables. The situation that a person finds himself or herself in plays a major role in how the person reacts. However, in most cases, people offer responses that are consistent with their underlying personality traits. These dimensions represent broad areas of personality. Research has demonstrated that these grouping of characteristics tend to occur together in many people. For example, individuals who are sociable tend to be talkative. However, these traits do not always occur together. Now, personalities are complex and varied, and each person may display behaviors across several of these dimensions. After studying about the 2 models, we will come on the third theory. It was given by Chris Agrias, and this theory is known as immaturity-maturity theory. Chris Agrias suggested that an individual, rather than going through precise stages, develops along a continuum from immaturity as an infant to maturity as an adult. He explained 7 characteristics to the continuum. Now, what is Chris Agrias' immaturity-maturity continuum? Immaturity characteristics are defined by passivity, dependence, few ways of behaving, shallow interest, short time perspective, subordinate position, lack of self-awareness. On the other hand, maturity characteristics are defined by activity, independence, diverse behavior, deep interest, long time perspective, superordinate position, self-awareness and control. First, the 7 measurements show only one aspect of the total personality. Personality, on the other hand, also depends on the perception of the individual, adaptation, self-concept and adjustment. Second, the 7 dimensions change incessantly in degree from infant to the adult end of the continuum. Third, this model provides a method of describing and measuring the growth of an individual in the culture. Fourth, the 7 dimensions are based upon latent characteristics of the personality which may be quite different from the observable behavior. The personality development of a person in organization is towards the mature end of the continuum. Egris points out that it is not imperative that all individuals reach all dimensions on the mature end. The immaturity-maturity model of personality is directed to the analysis of organizational behavior. He assumes that personality of employees in organization can be explained by the mature end of the continuum. For obtaining maximum from employees' personalities, formal organization should allow activity rather than passivity, independence rather than dependence, long rather than short-term perspective, superordinate rather than subordinate position, and through self-awareness and control rather than through lack of awareness and external control. Egris feels that generally reverse happens and the mature organizational participant becomes frustrated and it results in conflict with the organization. Therefore, there is an incongruity between the needs of the mature personality and goals of the organization. But Egris' assumption that all organization men are mature people also does not hold well in practice. Let us summarize what we have discussed so far. First, personality is a dynamic and organized set of individualities possessed by a person that distinctively influences his or her cognitions, emotions, motivation and behavior in various situations. Now, what are the determinants of personality? Heredity, environment and situation. Personality of an adult is made up of genetics and environment and it is influenced by different situations. The MBTI sorts some of the psychological differences into 4 opposite pairs or dichotomies with a resulting 16 possible personality types. Not any of these types are better or worse. These are ESTJ. E stands for extroversion, S stands for sensing, T stands for thinking and J stands for judging. INFP. I stands for introversion, N stands for intuition, F stands for feeling and P stands for perceiving. The next is the Big 5 model. The Big 5 personality traits are 5 broad dimensions of personality that are used to describe human personality. The Big 5 factors are openness, conscientiousness, extroversion, agreeableness and neuroticism. Chris Egris' immaturity-maturity theory. He suggested that an individual, rather than going through precise stages of development along a continuum from immaturity as an infant to maturity as an adult, he explained 7 characteristics in his continuum. Now we will study MBTI with the help of an following example. Alpha Sugar Candy is changing their corporate structure to a team environment. Each team will have one employee from each department of engineering, finance, accounting, marketing and design. The human resource manager would like to develop teams that have similar personality traits as to make the employees work together in an effective manner. Each employee has been asked to take the MBTI test, which has 4 scales with 2 possible choices for each scale. The mix of these preferences determine an employee's psychological type. The human resource manager can create the best teams by understanding the different scales. The scales are first extroversion/introversion. This scale result shows if the employee gets their energy from interacting with others or is energized by spending time alone. If an employee shows extroversion, they can enjoy with co-workers and variety in their workday. An introverted employee enjoys working at their own pace and it isn't social. The second, sensing/intuition. This scale shows how employees perceive or gather information. Employees who are the sensing type like to get information through their 5 senses. The intuition type refers to a 6th sense or gut feeling to make decisions. A team member who is sensing prefers specific instructions and does not like learning new skills. An employee who is intuitive can be absent-minded but can multitask and like solving new problems. Third, thinking oblique feeling. This scale explains how employees make decisions. A thinking type employee prefers to make decisions in a very objective and logical way. An employee who is feeling uses personal values to come up with a decision. Traditionally, we have seen that males are usually found to be thinking, and on the other hand, females are feeling types. The next is judging oblique perceiving. This scale explains how an employee views the world. A judging worker prefers organization and closure. On the other hand, a perceiving employee enjoys flexibility and likes to consider all options. Now, the human resource manager has the result of the test on each employee. Now, he or she will be able to build teams that consist of employees that work and support for each other.